go live. And we also locally record on this computer as well. So we can like isolate clips from it later.
Nice.
So there's that. And we're up now.
This is the first time I'm ever in anything. This is cool.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You never been on anything?
Never. I'm usually the one behind camera. I went to film school. I've done my duties. I'm a director. I know how to be a line producer. I'm pretty good on my feet. But I've never been in front of the camera.
Wow. Well, welcome. Glad to have you here. We're going to do the formal introductions and stuff after we start the Instagram feed, which is going to be momentarily. But also we're going to observe a moment of silence going into this because of the gigantic anniversary tomorrow. We're going to take 20 seconds to sort of like observe that, and then after that, we're just going to go ahead and launch into some more stuff. So that's basically how that's going to roll. And we're starting the Instagram feed now. Okay. I think we're basically up and running here. Cool, we're up and running. Can you hear me all right?
I could hear you. Can you hear me?
Cool. Awesome. I can hear you now. All right. Awesome. Welcome, one and all to Weekend Showcase for Friday, September 10th, 2021. My name is Don Shannon. With me today is a friend of mine named Alonso Barrantes, right?
Barrantes, yeah.
Barrantes.
You got to roll your R's a little bit.
I'm so sorry.
You got to really let it like fly. Barrantes. My Hispanics who's watching these, like they know. There's like a flurry to it.
Okay, my apologies for the. I'll get the tongue chill down. I hope by the end of this podcast. But Alonso works with is it pronounced Dava Marketing? And
Dava, just Dava.
Dava. And for those who aren't aware, Dava is a pretty big deal in the world of social media marketing. You guys might already know of some of their more large-scale clientele, such as Neil deGrasse Tyson, Logan Paul, and I know you guys recently locked on another big deal client recently, right?
So yeah, right now we got Jake Paul, we got Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is a huge deal. And we even helped people like Humble Trader get into the game. If you're into day trading, she's been around for a while and she made a huge presence in the industry. So, you know, we managed to edit for all these really big names, and we don't edit for just any big names too. We edit for all kinds of creators, small or medium or big. So we're really out here just trying to help, you know, the next big dream of content creators and the next generation of YouTubers who want to get involved with filmmaking.
Awesome. And you've been with them for about a year now?
I've been with them. Sorry, I've been with them since February, and I was their first remote worker, and I got the amazing opportunity to just be accommodated by Dava themselves to come live with them in the wonderful state of Utah. So, you know, they know how to really handle their clients as well as their creators and their workers as well. So, it's a great company.
It certainly sounds like the right environment to work in if you're serious about media production and marketing your brand. It certainly sounds. So cool, awesome. Thanks so much for joining me tonight, Alonso. And special shout out, obviously, once again to Dava Marketing. And thank you at home for joining us tonight. We're about to go ahead and launch into some live trailer reactions. We have a stacked up playlist tonight and a lot of stuff to talk about. But first, there is an elephant in the room that we do need to address, and that is the fact that this is a rather serious somber weekend in light of the events that occurred 20 years ago this weekend, tomorrow to be specific. So before we get into the fun stuff, I thought it would be important to provide a brief 20-second moment of silence in somber reflection of the events of September 11, 2001. So we're going to take a moment of silence right quick, starting now. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so now that we've gotten through that, we can go on and proceed to the business at hand, which is movie trailers. As I was saying earlier, we have a lot of content on our plate to discuss. Alonzo, are there any trailers that you're looking forward to? I know you haven't seen the big Matrix trailer that was released yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm a huge Matrix fan. My dad introduced it to me when I was, just like a wee lad. So I remember growing up with like Predator, Terminator, RoboCop, and Matrix was definitely among like those movies that I was exposed to as a kid. So I'm super stoked about it. I know it's not the wave to like Matrix 2 and Matrix 3, but I got to be honest, there are scenes in there growing up as like a 6-year-old watching these movies. They're not that
you were
bad.
6.
So
wait.
I was so young.
6
I was
watching
so
R-rated
young.
movies?
Oh my God,
Wow.
dude. Yeah, I was so young growing up with these films, and when you're that naive and you're watching Matrix 2 and Matrix 3, you can't really like see what like the uncanny valley of CGI. It all kind of just looks real to you. They're not that bad. So Matrix 4, I'm pretty much looking forward to it. I know other people aren't because of 2 and 3, but I am.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit in the audio there, but I think I hear where you're going from about like there's a subset of the fan base that feels like the trilogy should have stopped with the trilogy. We don't really need a part 4. Am I understanding you right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to see how this one plays out, but our first taste of exactly how it will play out will come later in this particular broadcast. We have that trailer coming up last. We have a little bit of a road to get there, but we have some other awesome footage on the way to getting there. And to begin, let's see, we're going to go ahead and get with, here it is. This is the playlist here, and we're going to go ahead and start off with the final trailer for No Time to Die. You looking forward to this one?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge Bond fan. I've seen all of them.
Oh, awesome. We need to have a larger conversation about Bond after we do this. So let's get this first trailer out of the way. This is the final trailer for No Time to Die.
Bond, any thug can kill. I have to know I can trust you.
Well, I understand 00s have a very short life expectancy.
You are a kite dancing in a hurricane, Mr. Bond.
Got Superstar.
Is this really what you want? Always alone?
We used to be able to get into a room with the enemy. Now they're just floating in the ether.
When her secret finds its way out, it'll be the death of you.
Ricky Malik is great.
God, target enough people.
And the people become the weapon.
Who is he?
James, we don't know what this is.
James Bond. Licensed to kill. In love with Madeline Swan. I could be speaking to my own reflection. Only your skills die with your body. And life is all about leaving something behind. Isn't it?
Come on, Bond. Where the hell are you?
Okay.
If we don't do this, there will be nothing left to say.
I have to finish this. You have a flow artist.
No.
I like that end shot.
Okay, so I know the plane dropping out of the thing. So here's the where do you begin with this? First of all, Alonzo, what's your immediate first reaction to this?
I'm super excited. Rami Malek looks great as the new antagonist, and it seems like we're concluding Daniel Craig's story, which I'm excited for because I kind of liked Spectre. I'm not gonna lie, I was in the minority, but I really enjoy Skyfall. I really enjoy where the character of this Bond is going, and I'm excited to see how his arc just ends with this movie.
Yeah, and it seems like in terms of how the ending actually winds up manifesting, at the very least, there are elements of consistency that are still playing throughout. You know, like you still have the soundtrack, you still have all the various, like you're mentioning that last distinctive shot. I think you're really talking about the point where he like sort of turns to camera and shoots the camera.
Yeah, and kind of looks like the classic
that,
Bond
right?
peephole. Yeah.
The gun barrel. Yeah. Do you know I was like in my 20s when I learned that was actually a gun barrel the entire time in that opening sequence. It never occurred to me that there was really a gun barrel.
Me
actually,
neither,
no, that's not
but
true.
it's creative.
The beginning of Casino Royale. You remember that opening sequence? This was like 06 when that came out, right?
Gun.
You remember like the scene where he pulls out the gun? And,
Yep.
Yeah. The perspective shift. It's an amazing movie. But yeah, so this is the ending of everything basically with this version of this franchise anyway. And I'm really intrigued to see where they wind up going with this. I just can't believe that it wound up taking this long for this movie to actually come out though. That's the thing, you know.
Literally.
I mean, COVID had to lock everything down, but yeah. But we're here now. We got it done. I just hope that this film doesn't suffer the kind of like backlash and post-launch issues that Black Widow had with all of that movie's delays. I'm sure you're aware of that, right?
Yeah. So that was quite the mess. It wasn't good publicity for either ScarJo or Marvel, but you know, it's a shame how that unfolded, because I'm sure my initial reaction to Black Widow would have been way different if I saw it in theaters on a Thursday opening night with my boys, instead of like, you know, the emptiness of my living room in my TV, because it's not an 80-inch flat screen like everyone else's. So
yeah, I hear you. So let's move on. If we don't have anything else to say on Bond, we can move on right now.
Yeah, let's move on.
You good? Okay, cool. Let's move on. Do you ever watch procedural shows?
Not usually.
CSI or NCIS?
No, I haven't. That's gonna be something I got to do before I'm 25. I got to watch those because I've gone too long without ever seeing any episodes.
Well, good news about procedurals is that they're very interchangeable. You don't really have to worry about continuity so terribly much. You know, you can just, they're like sitcoms that way. You can step away for a while, a long time, and then jump back right back in. And yeah,
they're kind of anthological.
There may be some cast changes here or there. Right. Yeah. So we have a couple of procedural shows here. One is a reboot, and then one is yet another spin-off. There is a new CSI show that's coming in the fall, and then a new NCIS show is on the way. And both of these trailers were put out within this last week to week and a half. They're both about 1.5 to 2 minutes long, but they're very structurally similar. So in terms of like, they're both crime procedurals. So what I'd like to do is basically power through these things one, like rapid fire, basically. So we're going to take a look at both of these trailers side by side and then react to them together. Can we do that?
Let's do that.
All right, cool. How about this? Let's flip a coin here. Heads, heads, Vegas, and then tails, Hawaii.
What we got?
Tails, NCIS, Hawaii.
Hawaii. Sounds more interesting anyways.
Yeah.
Nice.
What I think. This is a crime scene. Jane Tennant, Special Agent in Charge, NCIS Hawaii.
Special Agent Tennant, top of your class at FLETC. Only agent to receive the Medal of Merit 3 times.
Let's go, Warriors, let's go!
It's hard being a mom.
I need you to finish dinner and get your sister to bed on time.
Why do I have to babysit?
Because I'm not going to be up that late. What do we got?
Just the kind of puzzle that gets my circulation going.
Social media went dark a few weeks ago.
Are you able to activate it?
Yes.
The only lead we have is a name.
I gotta do this one alone.
Look, you're new, but we work as a team.
Local people will talk to me. I'm here so that other cops won't be. Allow me to impress them.
People are paying attention to this. One wrong move could bring your whole team down with you.
This just got a lot more complicated. We compile a list of high-value targets on the island. Let them up.
Our pleasure, boss.
Robberies, murders, massive explosions. When exactly does the solving the crime part come in?
Just going where the case takes me, Captain. When anyone on my team is in trouble, I'm the first call.
I thought this was just gonna be a job, but I've realized that it's a lot more.
We're practically family here.
It's just the way I do things, because it's a jungle out here when the moon bangs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Then can you hold that thought for the other one, or you want to go ahead and dive into the reaction right now? So we're gonna
No,
hold
we'll do
thought.
the other one. We'll
Okay.
hold off.
All right, hold that thought. Here's CSI Vegas.
There is an assault on the truth. Not your truth or my truth, but the truth.
Every case, every defendant that was put away with evidence from our lab has been called into question. Our life's work is on the line.
You either made an error or you were a party to criminal malfeasance.
What we're really talking about is my lab's reputation. Welcome to 2021. A whole lot of careful criminals out there.
We do get the occasional moron.
What do we do now? What we always do, Jim. Follow the evidence.
Do you think I could persuade you to come back to CSI?
So darling, please stand and remind me. You can go to sleep at home tonight.
You do this job long enough. The things we see. When you want to scream, where do you go?
Come on, tell me who are you?
My experience. Science will tell us if how things look is how they really are. In the end, darling, the truth emerges.
Okay, so I have some thoughts on CSI, but Alonzo, you were chomping at the bit to talk about NCIS. What's on your mind?
It doesn't look like what I see my friends watching. So, like, in your experience, like, is the cinematography consistent in throughout like all these shows, or do they switch it up? Do they get artistic with it? Because in my very little experience or like expertise on like NCIS and everything, there's very little, but it looks stylistically different. Would you call that accurate?
I would call that fairly accurate. It largely, from what I've observed with these procedurals, there's a lot of there's a lot of the way that the way that things are shot and the way that things are colored that is largely influenced by wherever the show is largely taking place. Like, and for example, visually, stylistically, I would say that NCIS LA borrows a lot from CSI Miami. They're both like really like sort of like yellow and orange tone, because these are like, they take place in what are largely sort of beach happy summery sort of aesthetic locales, as opposed to the New York version of CSI, which is very dark and blue, and that's the same sort of color and the same sort of mood and the same sort of tone that the Law and Orders will take, because like they're all in New York. all the Law and Orders except for the Los Angeles one and the UK one that the BBC did a few years back. They're all
wow.
Yeah, there's a British version of Law and Order, but that's a different conversation. But yeah,
That's
so
a different video.
And so yes, it's a different video. And Vegas borrows from itself, basically. Like, you have to realize the modern, except for Law and Order, basically all modern crime procedurals basically borrow heavily from CSI because they were arguably their first among this modern crop. CSI started in September of 2000, October of 2000. It's been a full 20 years. Okay.
Wow.
So, and the style for that was it was dark, it was green, it was like, it had an energy to it. And is all I can think of to describe it accurately. And in terms of the choice of color tone there, green, I mean, okay, Las Vegas, Sin City, green is often associated with luck. You know, green is often associated with, well, comic book people will tell you green is associated with the color for willpower, but I mean, green can mean a lot of things. For here, it's luck. So I guess that's why they went with that. Do either of these trailers make you want to check those shows out?
It makes me want to check it out, but in not really much of an interest in the show, more of like an interest in like I want to see what all the hubbub is about.
Mhm.
So I think if I were to choose between either Hawaii or Vegas, I think I might go with Vegas, to be honest.
Okay. Why? So why? Can you dive a little bit more into why you say that?
I think Hawaii just looks a little more on the silly side, and I think the Vegas one kind of dives more into like you said, like the CSI Miami, which I hear is like probably among the most popular ones, I think, or at least from what I've heard. So Vegas might be my first option.
Okay. Well, fortunately, both of those are on the same network. So if the scheduling gods have anything to say about it, like, you probably won't have to like do too much shuffling around of your schedule to check out both. So hypothetically.
There we go.
Hypothetically. So moving on. This is something we don't normally do on these live feeds, which doesn't really say much considering this is our third week doing live broadcasts. But I will say that this is something we're open to doing, which is doing a trailer for something that's already out. And I'm putting this in here. This is a film called Malignant. That some of the talent behind some really serious horror films like Saw and Insidious have been cooking this up for a while. I don't know how into horror films you are.
James Wan, I believe.
Yes.
I believe it's James Wan who did
Yes.
Aquaman as well. And yeah, big fan of horror. I really enjoy horror and like the film industry. So I'm super familiar with what James Wan can bring to the table. And I've just been really impressed with modern horror as of lately in general, especially with films like Hereditary, Midsummer, these very experimental films, The Lighthouse, The Witch. I think it's a really good time to be interested in horror because I think there's a really great shift of brand new aspiring directors, and James Wan is amongst the like seniors of them all. So I'm really excited to see Malignant because I have HBO Max. Haven't seen it yet, but I'm very inclined. This is going to be my first time seeing the trailer. So let's see what I'm coming in very fresh. Just like, I don't know. I've only seen the poster, and I keep seeing the moving poster with the M line about to like touch the lady's face.
Yeah,
I see it everywhere. Haven't seen the trailer. This is gonna be my first time.
Okay, all right. Let's without any further ado, here's trailer 2 for Malignant.
When I was young, something happened to me.
Daddy, who are you talking to? Gabriel. Is he your imaginary friend?
Whatever you went through before you joined our family, it hurt you in a way that I can't even imagine. You created him.
Daddy, what's going on?
So that you could survive.
I wanted to do something that was a bit different, but yet hark back to my roots. You gotta take chances. If you don't, you end up making the same old thing again and again and again. I think audiences are starved for something that's new and different.
We're
going to turn back the hands of time. Close your eyes. She's there too. Who is? Gabriel. Who is Gabriel? I'm the only one that can see him. That's him. He wants to talk to you.
Malignant. Rated R. September 10th.
Okay.
Whoa.
Holy crap with the visual effects there.
Yeah.
Is my first reaction to this. Yeah. You know, I'm interested, I'm intrigued by the fact that they framed this trailer not really as a trailer, but more as preview clips interspersed within an interview, because they actually showed James in the middle of, like, during that footage. And the way that he was talking about going out of your way to do something different, to avoid being stagnant, to avoid doing redundant things, it's sort of, it comes as no surprise to hear from this guy, like the kind of stuff, the kind of content that he's been making for years. And when you think about the caliber of director this guy is, like, okay, what really, I'm not very much of a horror person, but really the number one thing that made me take notice of James was the way that he managed to pull together Furious 7 after Paul Walker tragically died. That happened under James, okay? And add to that, you brought up, Alonzo, you brought up Aquaman before we watched this trailer. That was the first DCEU film after Justice League first came out, when Warner Brothers was still doing damage control with that whole brand. I mean, basically everything hinged on that movie, basically, because Wonder Woman was the last one that came out right before, you know, and everybody was panicking like, holy crap, what is this franchise going to be now? You know, my point is, James Wan is the kind of filmmaker in my mind that has the kind of pedigree of, like, this is the guy you call to rescue a franchise from dire problems and really knock it out of the park. Again, full disclosure, I'm not much of a horror person, but this trailer makes me want to become a horror person. This trailer makes me want to end this live broadcast prematurely and boot up HBO Max. No offense, Alonzo. But like, this is exactly, exactly. But so I actually want to see this film, like, tonight. Alonzo, I guess, would you agree with that?
I agree.
There we go.
I see no reason why not to.
There we go. Perfect. I guess we know what's gonna be on our respective streaming lists over the course of this weekend, or at the very least in the top 2. Cool. So let's go ahead and move on from that. And don't forget to drop a comment below on if you're watching us live on Instagram and on YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining us tonight. Drop a comment, and we might read your reactions to some of this footage live on the air. We're about halfway through the list here. We have 5 trailers left to go. Yeah, that's pretty much that. So we ready to keep going?
Ready to keep going.
All right. So this is the sequel to the Addams Family is next in our list. The MGM CGI remake. I don't know. Did you see the first film? I honestly didn't, but
didn't see the first film, but I'm pretty sure it profited from what I remember. And I really love to stay in touch with, like, films and their box office release dates. So I feel like I remember it making a profit. It's clearly successful enough to gain a sequel, right? So
on some level,
we're already there.
To be fair, if you have to kind of think about the metric that has to be used to gauge the threshold of success for a film like this, because family-aimed animated films are almost always going to make money somehow. You know, like, so it's a significantly lower bar to have to, which is not to say that there's no bar or that it's not difficult on some level to reach, but it's significantly easier than average cinema fodder, especially depending on the time of year when it releases. You know, Christmas time, summer vacation.
Yeah.
So, but this one's clearly going to be hitting pretty soon. Let's take a look at this trailer.
Cian Perry Decase Tutamen.
Hello? English, please.
I'm surrounded by idiots. Different from my family.
Why is she avoiding us?
You're both growing up so fast.
Pretty hot. Hey, ladies.
I have the very solution. We are going on a family vacation. Let's roll!
Right.
Yeah. We've always wanted to see more of this great country. Right in the Niagara Falls.
Hey, what's your talent?
There's my little holy terror. I remember the night Wednesday was born. It was a Tuesday. She was silent as a jellyfish. And I put all the babies back where I found them. I think.
We need to stop that family so the truth can come out.
Who is that man?
No one at all, dear.
This trip will bring the Addams closer than ever before.
Or there will be no survivors.
It's just us and the wonderful sound of silence.
Fire in the hole!
Here he is!
The depths of the sea, back to the black steel doggy dog.
It's good to see you, my bewhiskered cousin. I still don't understand a word that guy says.
Hold on
That
a
is a
second.
stacked cast.
Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Look at something in the end there. Hold on.
I still don't understand a word that guy says.
Snoop Dogg as it. It.
Oh wow.
That's who that last character was. That's Snoop Dogg.
That's Snoop Dogg.
Okay. Okay. So morbid curiosity has now overtaken frustration. My initial reaction to this trailer was frustration, I'll be honest, because my first reaction was, oh my God, they're remaking Hotel Transylvania 3. That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is.
It pretty much is.
Here's your horror movie, family-friendly horror movie cast going out of their comfort zone to take a vacation. That's Hotel Transylvania 3 all over again. Basically.
It really is.
Alonzo?
This is just a really stacked cast, man. Like if you see this, like just this roster alone in any production is impressive. But it's the Addams Family.
It's going to be a runaway success on paper. And like I said in the beginning, before we saw this, it's anything that's family friendly, you know, depending on when it's released, is going to be successful anyway. This clearly has the ingredients for success, but you know, to James Wan's point earlier with the Malignant trailer, it's like we can sense the redundancy a mile away. People who are at least reasonably versed in popular culture, in film, in at the very least this genre of film, the redundancy is clear. I'm going to wish this production well. You know, people got to make a living.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just saying, oh boy.
Oh boy.
I do wish them well, is what I'm going to say to that. I'm trying to be as positive as I can here. Personally, I'm probably not going to see this film personally, but I'm not in the target demographic. So there you go. But it looks like a fun time for the family. So there you go.
Really does. Can't go
So,
wrong.
Sorry?
Can't go wrong with a good animated film.
Yeah, pretty much. So now we're moving on to, we have 3 trailers before Matrix. The next 2 items are fresh from the Sony show that happened earlier this week, or was it the day before, or was it Wednesday? Or
I think it was Wednesday.
Tuesday. It was Wednesday.
I think it was Wednesday.
When the Sony show came, the Sony showcase. So a lot of, for those who don't know, there's a special event that happened this week that was really, really, really important for PlayStation gamers in particular. Sony came out with a bunch of preview footage and sizzle reels and things for all of their upcoming games for going into as far out as 2023. And a lot of these trailers were making some pretty serious waves, especially considering there are several projects that the world had no idea were being worked on. Like, we don't have room for it in this playlist, but one of the trailers, I know, Alonzo, you and I were talking about this previously off the record, the Wolverine game that Insomniac is working on. Insomniac, the studio that does the Spider-Man games for PlayStation, which we're about to see their trailer in a moment. They've been working on Wolverine and Spider-Man at the same time. Okay.
Crazy.
I mean, these guys have the pedigree to pull it off. We may have another X-Men Origins on our hands, which is easily like one of the greatest superhero games ever made. I would stack that up against the Arkham games in a heartbeat. Go ahead.
Not only that, but can you just imagine the world building of original X-Men characters introduced in that Wolverine game? Like, we can get Easter eggs of all kinds, ranging from locations and different X-Men characters. Maybe we could even see what the Insomniac version of a true original X-Men could be. Or maybe we could even see like new mutants, like all kinds of crazy things introduced to us just through the eyes of Wolverine in this game. So I'm super stoked for it.
You're suggesting an Insomniac gaming universe, an Insomniac Marvel gaming universe. But see, we still have, okay, there's that, and then don't forget, we still have whatever this there's a Midnight Suns game that's about to come out.
Oh, yeah.
There was a trailer for that a couple weeks ago. And sorry, gaming audience, I have to mention this. There's still the Square Enix universe that is the Avengers game. Sorry, I know, but that does still exist. And the Black Panther DLC is actually pretty well received, to be fair. So there's
and their
that.
Guardians of the Galaxy game.
I was going to mention that next. You're right. So there are 3 parallel tracks that are happening here, and it looks like this Insomniac track is about to have a pretty fast-moving train put on those tracks in the very near term. I'm intrigued to see what happens with this, but I gotta say, I'm kind of spoiled by the Marvel movies. The idea of one consistent, coherent timeline before Loki. I know, before Loki. You only really had one serious continuity to keep track of, basically, and what we're talking about is parallel storylines, basically, that do not directly connect to each other, that can be difficult to deal with from a fan service perspective. Can be. Hoping to be proven wrong here, but we'll see how this. Here's the trailer for Spider-Man 2. This is the first thing that's out of the gate from Insomniac. So let's see how this plays out. Have you seen this yet, Alonzo?
Nope, haven't seen it yet. Super excited for it though.
Okay, because I'm curious to hear your reaction to this. Let's take a look. Here's Marvel Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac Games.
As long as I can remember, I have looked for an equal. One who could push me. Could surprise me. One who could even beat me. All I found is disappointment. One of you finally give me what I desire.
Ooh.
We will.
There he is. There he is. Wow.
Featuring special appearance from Tom Hardy. And
Wow.
we have to wait a while. Okay. So, all right. So
I have a lot of things to say
up.
about that.
Go ahead.
It sounds like so at first I was like, so I was already prone to the idea of Venom being in it because I saw it on Twitter. But when it first opened, I was like, all right, I guess this narration is Venom. But it isn't, because the tone shifts the moment he speaks at the very end. So off the bat, I mean, it sounds, I mean, the goons look very much like a Kraven type of goon.
Mhm.
Is this an introduction to Kraven? Are we getting more, team ups going on? But
Sinister
it
Six.
looks
You're
super
thinking
exciting.
Sinister Six, aren't you?
Yeah, we're another Sinister Six. Like, there's been many variations in the past through just different comics. Let's introduce these new characters. Let's make these other characters more prominent. Let's give them a Sinister Six. That's going to be really exciting to see how all of that unfolds with Venom in the mix.
Yeah, and it always kind of intrigues me when games in franchises that are kind of designed to center around one protagonist, when they start to pivot to having to juggle the attention between more than one protagonist that has to sort of share that same spotlight. We're dealing with more than one Spider-Man here. We're dealing with Peter and Miles in the same game, like out of the gate. So that's there have been instances where, like, I'm trying to think of another good example of this sort of thing that I can point to. The only one that comes to mind right now happens to be in this same sort of franchise, which would be the Ultimate Spider-Man game for PlayStation 2 and original Xbox way back in, I think it was 04 or 05, I think, when that game came out.
Yeah, sometime around then.
Yeah, you remember where I'm going with this. Like, you had the option to play as Venom and you had the option to play as Spider-Man in that game, and you could sort of like go back and forth. You had different campaigns to basically play throughout that game. You played that game?
Yeah, I played it back then.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Did you enjoy it, or like
I loved it.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved it. I also was exposed to the original Spider-Man 2 game that everyone references as like the best one. So I'm definitely up to date with my Spider-Man games.
Okay. Cool. So with that said, it looks like this one is coming out in 2023. Are you looking forward to it?
So looking forward to it. Honestly, yeah. I think I haven't played the first one because I'm an Xbox user. I know, unfortunately, I should just get a PC at this point. But PlayStation's coming out with some really good lineups, and this is like top contender, like top 3 games I would go out of my way to get a PlayStation for.
Yeah, this is one of those things that you could definitely file under the category of killer app. I think we can go ahead and put that classification on this right here. And I'm in the same boat as you, Alonzo. Like, I'm a diehard Xbox person. It's an open secret. And it's actually, I'm not even going to call it a secret in any possible connotation of the term. Like, it's pretty on my sleeve. If I was wearing actual sleeves right now, it would be on those literal sleeves. But seeing this franchise take off, on the one hand, I'm happy to see that how successful this franchise is. And on the other hand, like, there's a part of me as an Xbox person that's a little bit jealous of the ways in which this success has manifested itself for the PlayStation crowd specifically. And I have to go back to the Marvel's Avengers game from Square in particular, because you might be aware of this. You probably know where I'm going with this. The DLC, one of the DLC packs for the PlayStation version of that Square Enix Avengers game involves the Spider-Man from this franchise.
Yes, it's
and
exclusive.
We don't get that. No other platform gets that content. So it's like, man, we really do have to get a PlayStation to enjoy this.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you, before we transition to the next trailer, like, Alonzo, seriously, like, what are your thoughts about content exclusivity? Like, because I mean, as more and more games wind up going to the cloud, as more and more games wind up supporting crossplay, Destiny 2 wound up introducing crossplay earlier this month. I mean, what What are your thoughts on this? Is it a good or a bad thing?
Content exclusivity is a really difficult thing because I feel like I see the struggles of Xbox, especially coming off this conference when everyone's just stoked about, God of War Ragnarok and another Spider-Man game. But we got to remember, we also have the entire lineup of Bethesda in front of us as well.
True. Bethesda, now a wholly owned subsidiary of Microsoft.
And deals like that don't usually happen. But at the same time, if I was a PlayStation user and I was really into like Fallout or like, the Elder Scrolls, I'd be just as jealous. So in my opinion, content exclusivity is a really difficult thing because I don't want to go out of my way to buy a new console, but I do want to enjoy these games really badly. So
and oh my God, it hurts the wallet sometimes when you feel like so, I guess, emotionally pressured as a fan to go out and invest in a whole new piece of hardware for 1 or 2 games that you otherwise couldn't experience, but you want that experience. You see it as a sound investment because like you support the franchise, you love the story, or you were told a lot of positive word of mouth from like your friends or your classmates, your coworkers, whatever the case may be, right? But it's like, in a perfect world, we wouldn't be messing with it, but right. So yeah. I wish we had Thurgood with us tonight. He had unfortunately he had some personal issues to deal with, unfortunately, tonight. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll be seeing him next week, hopefully. But I wish that he was with us in this conversation because I know he would have had more to say about this franchise as well. Because I know that this was another big one that he would have some comments on. He's not he's into Switch gaming, so like he doesn't even have a PlayStation, but
awesome.
He's really into comics. So like, and that like he has a really like awareness of comics culture. Him and Tim as well, another colleague of ours on the show, really into Marvel comics. So we may have to revisit this for one of our like larger podcasts at a different time. But I know that's going to be a lot of fun, as will that game. So the next one, we are down to our last 3. This is the one that you just name dropped during that last piece of conversation that we had. God of War Ragnarok. I know you're really looking forward to this one. You haven't seen this one either, I guess?
Haven't seen this one either, but I'm super excited.
So walk me through like your level of fandom for this game. Like how many games in this franchise have you tried?
I've played the first 2. And I didn't get to play the newest one for the longest time, but I recently played it just about a year ago. Finished the whole thing in one sitting. It was so much fun. It was such a great game, and it was also one of the first times I was exposed to like a very PlayStation narrative-driven game. Because I never got to grow up with the Uncharted games. I never got to hop on the wave with The Last of Us. And these are very cinematic experiences. And I took God of War, with that mentality that this was going to be very new for me. This was going to be a very new type of style of gaming. But I was so sucked in like instantaneously. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's a thing where like the camera never like cuts throughout the game. It's always in one frame and it's meant to seem like it's just one smooth camera movement, which is awesome. It's such a cool technique that only like a film buff would like pick up on. And I picked up on it like instantly, and it's such a great thing. So I'm super excited. I'm super, super excited for the continuation, especially because that ending is so ambiguous, but it seems like we're just going to be tying right into the story super smoothly. And I'm just eager for more content.
I'm fascinated by the way you describe that, the continuous angle thing. It reminds me of like Inuritu. It reminds me of Birdman.
Oh yeah,
remember
yeah,
that Michael
100%
Keaton movie,
Birdman. Yeah.
It's I never really see because I haven't touched this franchise since the PSP game. And again,
back in the day,
I do have a PSP. And I do remember, you're absolutely right. It was one continuous camera shot, basically, even in that game. And it never really occurred to me like how significant that was just in terms of presentation of that narrative until literally this conversation. It just never occurred to me because I knew I was playing a video game.
Yeah.
It just so like sucks you in. You're not even aware that you're playing a movie as opposed to any other game experience. And so
that's
like, okay,
the beauty
you know what?
of it.
You know what? Thank you for saying that, because that actually gives me a newfound experience, a newfound appreciation and respect for, at the very least, this franchise and what it brings to the table as part of the PlayStation family. I'll give PlayStation a bunch of props that I ordinarily wouldn't give PlayStation just because of God of War. Like, I have a new appreciation for this franchise now thanks to this conversation.
It's a great piece of art, honestly. It really even gives me Logan vibes, honestly, if you just kind of like sit back and look at it.
Wow.
Don't know if you watched Logan.
Of course I have.
So yeah, you see it, right? A very animalistic father caring for this child.
Mhm.
They're both animalistic killers in their own sense.
I'm still blown away by the fact that that's Teal'c from Stargate voicing this guy.
Yeah.
Christopher
Yeah,
Judge.
great. I'm so happy you knew that. That's so cool.
Dude, I have no life. I'm not ashamed to say it, because like it creates awesome nerd commentary moments like that. But anyway, so it's I just never mind. Without any further ado, here we go. This is God of War Ragnarok for PlayStation 5. Here we go. That is some crazy graphics.
Time is running out. The prophecies say Fimbulwinter leads to Ragnarok. War is coming. My story doesn't end hiding in these woods. I should be out there, finding out who I am, who Loki is.
I will not allow you to become gods.
I don't want to fight anyone. I just want answers.
Those answers lead to war with Asgard.
Maybe that's what Mother wanted.
What Mother wanted?
Well, I recognize that dour expression anywhere. Odin's got tricks up his sleeve we haven't dared to consider.
What if there was someone who could help us?
You mean Tyr, the old god of war in these lands, who is dead?
Well, for a dead man, Odin seemed pretty keen on seeing he wasn't found.
If he's out there, we gotta find him.
Come in. All yarn speed that happened to him.
We're trying to stop Ragnarok, to help people. What if the only way to do that is war?
War is not the only way.
Stop thinking like a father for a moment and start thinking like a general.
No! You seem like a calm and reasonable person. Are you a calm and reasonable person? In moments of crisis, panic does nothing. Harness it. Let it serve you.
Here.
Are you coming with us?
Oh yeah.
You'll get your answer soon enough. Well, some of them.
Look at you trying to be Marvel right there. Like, really? That little like post credits or the little post logo, I guess I should say, the little blurb with this little girl who clearly is supposed to be important for the story, right? That's how you know that like the last thing that you see right before the end of the trailer after the logo, that's supposed to be something that's really, really important. What is there? What's your sense tell you about this? Well, first of all, what's your reaction to the trailer, Alonso, as a whole?
So initial thoughts, it looks a lot. It looks like more of the same and more, which is always a great thing. The environments look great. The water in particular in this one scene where they're just canoeing down like the town, fantastic. It looked gorgeous. Also, it seems like we're going to be having more opportunities to use the Chaos Blades, which is like not a bad thing. Give us more. That looks awesome. So from a gameplay standpoint, it seems like we're going to be exploring more of the combat, which is also going to be really cool narrative or implemented into the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, this really does seem like an evolution of this franchise. Like, I may not have like played the last few games, basically. Like I said in the beginning before this, like my last major exposure to this franchise was with the PSP game way back when. But I have seen footage of like the more recent entries in this franchise, and this does seem like a considerable step up. It's I wouldn't give it Spider-Man's crown of like, this is why you buy a PlayStation, because it takes more than fancy, because I'm of the mind that it takes more than fancy graphics to convince me, not just as a gamer, but as a consumer, to fork down the money and the time to invest in another game. You know, like that's kind of like, I have a 4K TV, but it's like, I don't play games for graphics. Personally, that's just me. That's just
I feel you.
But that said, if I was the type to really like prioritize visual experience over overall gameplay mechanics, like hands down, Running Away, Ragnarok, done deal. Shut up and take my money.
Yeah,
like that's what I think.
Yeah, literally.
I wish I had like the graphics package in place to be able to put up that Fry meme from Futurama. You know what I mean? You know exactly.
Oh my god, I love Fry. Yeah, I love Futurama.
Yeah. So, but anyway. Oh, also, I have we've got some comments on YouTube. Here's actually an old friend of the production staff. Good to see you again. This is on our YouTube live chat comment feed. LOL. Even though Spider-Man's currently with Disney and Venom's with Sony, even though Disney and Sony are sharing Spider-Man, it's kind of bizarre now since they're still with different companies now. Yeah, I guess this is talking about basically the idea of how the licensing situation works. And oh my god, that's actually a Pandora's box, because we can get into a whole other conversation about
literally
the mess of yeah. But he also says shout outs for Maximum Carnage, which also lets you play as Spider-Man and Venom. That's another game that lets you sort of choose more than one protagonist.
Oh
Thanks for jumping in. Alonso, what was that?
I said, oh yeah, you're right.
You played that game?
Yeah, I did play it. Awesome. I'm also familiar with like the comic too. Super big fan of just Carnage as a character. So being able to explore like more of the Venom like universe, and now the Venom cinematic universe, is going to be really cool to just see unfold.
I was going to mention that next. Are you looking forward to Woody Harrelson's version in the next Venom movie?
Honestly, yeah, and it's going to be directed by Andy Serkis. Like, yes, please. Let Caesar himself. I would love to watch that.
Caesar is home. that just came to me.
Amazing.
But yeah, and let's see. And staff also says, LOL, I think God of War 4 had a DLC ending. Is that true?
I think it did. Yeah, it did.
Okay. And Freya is the last character that we saw at the end of that trailer, I guess.
Yes, Freya.
Yeah, glad to see Freya back. Guess she'll be a boss fight now, is what he says.
That'll be fun.
So what is he referring to by that? Is that the sort of thing that you'd be interested to play through it, or do you think that's going to be just sort of a character evolution that the franchise doesn't need, or at least that character doesn't need?
I sure hope it's not that. I hope it's more of an exploration for all the characters, but we'll just have to see, because I don't think I'm very familiar with like the story DLCs and their reputations from just like Sony exclusives. I don't remember anyone, like raving over a Last of Us DLC or any of the sorts. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, again, God of War won Game of the Year, if I'm not wrong. So, a DLC from Game of the Year. Yes, please. It just sounds good on paper.
Yeah. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. And that's all. That is sound logic. I just hope that all this, because I can only imagine the man hours, the time and effort that it would have taken to put this content together. I really hope that this manages to knock it out of the park. You know, just to sort of justify the time and money and resources that it was. You know, all of these video games, all these trailers that we're seeing, all this content. This is people's livelihoods for years. You know, and you know, if you even know the slightest bit of information about what it takes to make a video game, what it takes to movie, what it takes to make a TV show, you know, it's humbling. You know, like whatever you may think of it in terms of the output, on some level, you have to respect the work that went into it. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much all that can be said about that. I'm pleasantly surprised by how good that trailer was, and I know you're looking forward to it, Alonso. So yeah, that's definitely a good step in the right direction. Of, at the very absolute least, we can say this trailer did its job.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely say that. Let's move on. We have 2 more to go, and then we'll shut this down. This is okay. I know you're familiar with a video game called Injustice. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pretty sure everybody watching this feed right now is familiar with Injustice. Don't forget, we're live streaming on YouTube and Instagram right now. Thanks so much for tuning in and sticking with us so far. Don't forget to drop a comment below on YouTube or on the Instagram feed, and we might bring it up in this conversation and react to your comments as well. Shed some light on some topics that maybe might not occur to us to realize, but hey, we always welcome fan input. But anyway, back to Injustice. So yeah, wildly popular fighting game made from the guys who did Mortal Kombat originally, if I'm not mistaken, about the history of this.
NetherRealm
right? Yeah.
Studios.
Yes. So you've played these games, Alonso?
Yeah, super familiar. Been playing since the start of like MK9, I believe. So Injustice, I remember just being a boy and just growing up with it, playing, you know, it like night and day, learning these combos on YouTube. Injustice 2, just as great. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. The story is also fantastic. I think people like overlook the story, but Injustice is so like clever. It's just such a great concept. And I think around that time, Man of Steel came out. So we also got like Man of Steel content and DLC. And it was just really cool to see like a superhero fighting game that took itself seriously, you know, and it wasn't, you know, I love Marvel vs. Capcom, but like, you know, it's still got that like comic vibe, that very lighthearted comic art style. Injustice felt more like what the DC universe should have looked like theatrically.
I apologize to cut you off here. I have to correct myself here. I did mention that I don't really play the God of War franchise. I don't even own a PlayStation, but we have a correction in the comments feed for YouTube. This is Steph again saying, no, Freya is the woman jumping on the dog's sled in the beginning of the trailer. Yeah. So, okay, noted. I was about to say, like, how are they going to power up a child? I really thought that's what they were going to do.
Oh, I didn't know you were referring to the child either.
I did. I was about to say, like, come on, why did you correct me?
Yeah, Freya's the mom. So Freya's the mom in the story. The child, I don't know who that child is.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I was wondering, like, why did they introduce that? Why did they introduce that random shot of her at the very end, as though this is a really significant character to the plot? Like that's the kind of trailer Marvel Studios would cut together, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, anyway, all right, noted, understood. Apologies, I misspoke there. Moving on, back to Injustice. Yeah, finish the rest of your thought, please. About yeah, you were the staying up combos basically on researching combos on YouTube for those.
Yeah, I was one of those beginner kids. I would always watch like you know, like Caboose back in the day, all these really old school like Injustice like combo teachers on YouTube. They would just teach you combos and all these great things. But I loved fighting games, and NetherRealm Studios never fails to put out a really bad fighting game. So I'm really excited to see what they do in a narrative perspective, because I'm a really big fan of the story, both from Injustice 1 and 2, and seeing this kind of evolve into like an animated like movie of sorts is really interesting.
So last thing, and then I'll go ahead and play this trailer. Last question here. there are certain red letter events that are kind of fixed points in this kind of story. I guess we can call the biggest red letter point Superman killing Joker. We can call that like
huge
that.
one.
You need
Big
that
one.
event. You need that event, and you need the events that lead up to that event, you know, and that sort of like jumpstarts this entire continuity. Other than that, other than those fixed point events, are you hoping that they stay faithful to the game, or again, circling back to what James Wan was saying before, Malignant, is it just redundant? Are you not really interested in seeing a redundant story that you've seen played out into other games? You know what I'm asking? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
You know what? I haven't really put much thought into it, but off the bat, I think I wouldn't be really upset if they just adapted the story of the first game. Because one, the story works. And if I'm able to digest that same narrative without having to play the game, then that just makes it an easier form of entertainment for anybody else to really enjoy and maybe get encouraged to hop onto the game or even future games. So I think it would be wise if we went through with the original narrative, and you can maybe tweak some things just to condense into like that maybe 2.5 hour mark, because I'm pretty sure it's a long game, which means a long story. So we're going to have to pull some things out. So
you're
I hope to stay
suggesting
faithful in a way.
So you're suggesting abbreviate a lot of the storyline as it originally played out to treat this movie as a glorified commercial for the game. It sounds like that's what you're suggesting. Am I correct?
In a way.
If I'm oversimplifying, like, correct me. Like, I'm fine with it. But it's like,
didn't really put
I hear what you're saying. Like, in order to expand the fan base.
Which I could see them doing. I could definitely see Warner Brothers doing something like that. So that's what I'm expecting.
But it's like, aren't the fans expecting Injustice 3 more? Like, do we need an animated movie?
Yeah, are we? I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you're up to date with this, but I'm pretty sure I'm hearing rumors about like a Marvel, or even like an 80s styled like action fight game that they're going to be planning, especially because they have Warner Brothers and they have all these guest characters like the Predator and the Alien and Jason, and they want to keep continuing this expansion. I've been seeing rumors about it all the time, especially because I follow like super deep into like NetherRealm lore and like all the rumors. They're doing a lot with those characters. So I'm hoping for Injustice 3, but who knows what they're up to, because they're just experimenting at this point. Their last couple of characters were Rambo and RoboCop. So we're going towards a really strange direction here.
I know at least Rambo did. I'm trying to remember. I don't think RoboCop was in the last bit of major DLC for Call of Duty Warzone over this past summer. I know they had
he
Rambo.
Was too. Yep, they did have Rambo.
But like, I don't remember if RoboCop was involved in that.
RoboCop was involved in MK11.
That's right. I knew I'd seen that character in some video game recently, but I couldn't place which one.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh. This is another comment from YouTube. I'm just guessing, but the child in the God of War trailer, the child seemed like Kratos' daughter from the earlier PlayStation games.
Ooh, I never thought about that. Interesting.
So what is it? Does this create some interesting theories for you for Ragnarok?
Super interesting theories, because when we start off in God of War, like the game, the newest one, we're kind of expected that his entire past is just kind of gone. Like this continuity is now done, and we're in this new arc of the character. So seeing like little bits of like the past come back is going to be really interesting to just see unfold, especially for a character like Kratos, who we've been seeing a lot more vulnerability from in a narrative perspective lately.
You're making me really wish I had a PlayStation right now to have played through at the very least the last game, because I don't really have that kind of reference, but I hear what you're saying as far as like being able to chart the path of this protagonist whose story that you've invested in for years and years through multiple console generations. Like not just from a fan perspective, but from a consumer perspective, to have invested a lot into over a long time, and to see the seeds for massive payoffs being put out. I remember when God of War 3 was going to be the end.
Yeah, I remember those trailers. He even made a guest appearance in Mortal Kombat 9.
Wow. I mean, there you go. We'll have to see how that turns out. Anyway, But back to Injustice. Let's go ahead and dive into this. And we're still reading your comments as you type them in over on YouTube or on our Instagram page. I'll try to pull up the Instagram feed during this, and we'll see what we got for that as well. So here's Injustice. Ooh, family friendly.
Imagine meeting you here, Lois.
This is a priority call to all Justice League members. A woman is missing.
She's one of ours. Her name is Lois Lane.
Lois.
Masterpiece. Brace yourself.
You took his wife. You took his unborn child and his city. Why?
After all these years, Betsy, you really need reasons from me?
What happened to Metropolis can never be allowed to occur again.
You'll throw away everything the Justice League stands for.
Wow.
Okay, so this is direct to video. Hang on a second, let me pull that up again. Ah, darn it, that's too far. Oh well. So what? This is interesting. There's that fixed point I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So
Superman
off
has
the
to kill
bat,
Joker.
I mean, what's really cool is that I didn't expect them to go further back, and we're going to be seeing the actual events unfold that really kick off the Injustice story. So that's really cool. I didn't really see it coming.
Right, and
how do you feel?
We didn't see it at all when the first game first came out. That's the thing. Like, we were basically left to piece that together from the dialogue in that opening cutscene from the first Injustice game. We didn't actually see Lois get abducted. We didn't see her death. We didn't know about the unborn child until there was like that information was dropped in the interrogation room right before Superman killed him. So like it's interesting. Okay, it's like you were saying before we saw this. It's the familiar story, but played out in a way that's above and beyond what we got in the game. That sort of underscores the significance of the experience that can only be had by playing the game. You know, like it's one thing when you understand the comics. It's one thing when you understand the context of the game. It's a whole other thing when you're being presented like a different spin on this, on the story that you know, on the circumstances that you know, on what you already know is going to play out, but from an angle that you were not shown in the games or the comics. You know, it's sort of like it subconsciously sort of challenges your perception on things as a fan, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I think I couldn't have said it better myself.
So let's circle back to one of your points about one of the points you made about I think we were talking about God of War, where you want to where it sort of where it introduces the franchise to new people. The things that I'm trying to remember. I think, was it God of War? It's we've been talking about so much tonight, I'll be honest.
I think we're talking about Wolverine.
Wolverine, that's okay. And the Insomniac games in creating an interconnected Marvel universe, right? And introducing this content to new fans through this way. What are your thoughts on this movie introducing the Injustice plotline to people who may not be into the comics and may have missed out on the games? Would this movie inspire these people to go out and pick up a PlayStation, to pick up an Xbox, to invest in this game and experience this for themselves above and beyond what this movie will show them? What are your thoughts on that?
We got to think about this logistically, because it's direct to video. Don't know if it's direct to streaming. So realistically, from a consumer standpoint, I really hope it gets picked up and I really hope it gets seen. But I feel like the ones who are going to be going to go see it is going to be me. You know, like the people who are already familiar with Injustice, who are eager enough to go back and to actually watch this unfold. So I can see the Injustice community definitely going forth and just exploring it and seeing how this is going to be a really cool way to just continue and grow the mythos of what we know as Injustice, because for some people that was their introduction to DC, like in general. So really cool. Like there's a young generation of people who would love to see Injustice, and I think that's going to be really cool.
It's definitely it's definitely a positive means to an end that you're describing there. The expansion of awareness, the expansion of the fan community, you know, and which another side effect of what you're describing, the expansion of the fan community, that also gives way to the expansion of the population of creatives, you know, people who may be inspired to create their own stories or create their own characters, create their own worlds based on, or loosely, at the very least, loosely inspired by things that they see here and like what they, how they're emotionally impacted and experienced through like their connection to the story, like, you know, the investment in the characters, the investment in the story, you know, there's it just trickles down from there, you know, as far as where it can go from there. It's let me see, here's another comment from this is another thing from staff on our YouTube comment feed. I wonder if it will be separate or will they attempt to mix it with the newer animated movies, especially since the multiverse is now the big craze. Yeah, so basically everybody is doing a multiverse now. That's a very valid point. I mean, we had the CW verse did that Crisis on Infinite Earths thing last January. I know you remember.
They did, and we have Flashpoint just around the corner.
Right. For the DCEU, that's correct. We have, oh, goodness, we already mentioned earlier what's been happening with the MCU thanks to Loki.
Oh yeah, Multiverse of Madness is right there as well.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't know if you saw the last episode of Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah, that's one big calamity in itself.
Everything is, there are multiverses all around pop culture now, above and beyond. Like, I remember this time 10 years ago, it's like, could you have like begun, how would you explain a multiverse to somebody like 10 years ago? And now here honestly, we are, like, with multiple successful franchise multiverses running in parallel. It's like, how is this happening right now? At what point do you think we'll ever hit an oversaturation with this?
I sure hope not. I don't, as long as everyone's putting out quality content, I feel like this is going to be really good for just the fan bases of all masses, because so far, just 10 years going into it with MCU building and DCU, you know, stumbling but still continuing to push, there's no bad repercussion for a really well-made movie and then another really well-made movie after that. So I don't think we're going to be oversaturated just yet, but I will say the Disney Plus shows have been a really smart idea for them, both financially as a business and easily digestible for consumers. So I see this becoming a reoccurring thing, honestly.
But see, the one thing I would say to that is the crux of your point is fundamentally built upon the premise that there are good movies, that these animated movies, that these spin-offs or whatever that they're putting out, they're good. Yeah, you're right. There's no negative side effect to good content. But here again, that's built upon the premise that the content is good. If there's negative fan backlash or it's just not profitable, you know, in this town, in Hollywood, you're only as successful as your last movie, you know, and it's like, or your last big project. And if something, especially that's a big franchise or has a lot of studio investment behind it, that doesn't turn a profit, or it doesn't really cross over a certain threshold of money makeability after they recoup all of their marketing and, you know, all that money, you know, it's there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake to that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there is.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope that this movie turns out good, especially considering like the litany of, like, staff just said on our YouTube comment feed, there's a lot of DC animated films that have been coming out lately, and it's really like, it's almost, is DC kind of like, I'm trying to make sense of this in the right context. Is DC like the widest active multiverse right now? I'm trying to think of how would we even calculate that? You know, because aren't multiverses inherently infinite?
They are inherently infinite, and we're coming like DC's coming out with animated stuff all the time.
I don't even know. I feel like that would have to be again, that would have to be some more content on unto itself, basically more podcast content to talk about. Oh, here we go. Here's another YouTube comment. The thing about a multiverse franchise is that if a film fails, the next could take place in another universe as a retcon without erasing the previous installment. Yeah, but then the problem with doing that is like you wind up setting up the audience up for feeling completely shortchanged. Like everything that we just saw and invested in didn't matter. You know, it's what is it? It's Patrick Duffy stepping out of the shower in that episode of Dallas, where like the whole season was a dream sequence or something. Like, really? But you're dead, and so we're supposed to believe that that was a dream sequence. So it's okay to continue investing in this story now because we just watched a whole year and a half worth of dream sequence, but didn't know it. What?
Hey, we live in a world where we're living in a year where Justice League and Suicide Squad both came out again, but they're better than their counterparts.
The Zack Snyder cut, you're talking about that, right?
Yeah. Zack Snyder cut, and we have James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Both in the same year.
And there were rumors. I remember seeing some stuff online. There were people who were lobbying for a David Ayer cut of the first Suicide Squad. And even Ayer himself, if I remember right, even Ayer himself was saying, no, that doesn't exist. Shut up. You know, like that. If he didn't say it like that, I don't want to misquote. But there is no Ayer cut of the first Suicide Squad is the takeaway there. And it almost again,
I'd be down to see it. I'd be down to see it, honestly. Like if it were to be a thing, I'd be down. If HBO and Warner Brothers came together and said, all right, David, quit your crying. Here's your money. Go finish it. Go do your reshoots. I'd be interested. But I feel like he would be aware of what like his final cut is, you know, like he understands the repercussions of the cut that he had theatrically, and I'm sure he's going to do some quality control if he ever came out with like an extension of it. I could just see it happening. I could just see him like righting his wrongs in a way. So I'd be down to see it from like, you know, that standpoint.
I have to agree. I have to agree. And I'm going to agree from a completely different direction, actually. I'm going to say, this one I can quote. Because I don't know if you're aware of this. Stephen Amell recently made a comment that he would love to come back to do Green Arrow. It's like a limited series for HBO Max or Netflix. You know, so it's like that's not official. That's not happening. There's no like ink dry. Like he's busy doing heels for Showtime right now anyway. But it's like, what if there's ever of all the different multiverses that are happening right now? I personally would argue that the one that's most capable of handling itself in terms of how wide the multiverse is, how wide that particular multiverse is in terms of story, in terms of potential, I would say DC. I would say DC has a better odds of producing engaging and unpredictable content that's worth investing in than Marvel. And that's difficult for me to say because I'm more of a Marvel person, but I will give DC the multiverse. For now, we're still playing with the bubble wrap on what the MCU is doing. So like, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. No, another YouTube comment, but it could be a what if scenario, a different version of what we just saw.
Could be.
Yeah. What if, oh God. Staff, I'm sorry. We have to do what if on a different podcast. We need to move along.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about what if.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about what if. You know what? I haven't seen the zombies episode yet. I'm going to watch that after this. I know. That just came out. I know that just came out the other day. I know I'm falling asleep at the wheel because I was trying to do prep for this show tonight. But we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that at a later time. For now, we have to get to the star of our show tonight, which is this trailer. We're down to the last one. I know, Alonzo, you were looking forward to this the most, right? Matrix Resurrections. You have not seen this trailer yet. This just came out yesterday morning. This is a fresh viewing for you. How excited are you to see this trailer?
Over the moon, man. I'm just hearing good things, and I'm just a big Matrix guy, so I'm so down for this.
So how old were you when the first movie came out?
First one came out in 2001. No,
99.
99. I was just born. I was born on 99.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So you were still super young when the sequels came out. That was both they were both in 03. So all right, let me restructure this question then. How old were you when you first saw the first Matrix?
Probably 6 or 7.
So a 7-year-old seeing the Matrix, how much did your mind get blown?
Believe me, it was blown every single day. Like I was exposed to RoboCop the next day, and then I was basically like exposed to James Cameron's Aliens the following day. I was born like
What, did you
this.
just
My
binge
whole
hardcore science
personality.
fiction? Did you just binge hardcore sci-fi?
Dude, literally just a quick binge, because I grew up with like old like early 2000s Comcast. So every time you watch something, there was always like the recommended at the bottom, and every movie was a banger. Every movie was a banger when you're 7. Matrix, Predator, Terminator 2. Terminator 2 was ridiculous as a kid. I didn't know it was like golden standard best sequel ever until I was like 12 or 13. I always knew that movie was just fire. So Matrix holds a special place in my heart just because it blew my mind the most. Like that movie like wakes you up as a 7-year-old. That's a weird time.
It's a very interesting choice of words considering the context of what we're talking about here. But I would also add, sort of circling back to Terminator 2, like, yeah, that is last thing I'll say. And then I know we have to watch this trailer. I just want to say for the record here, like, holy crap, I'm shaking my head at that franchise, because like they tried like 4 times, technically 5, depending on how you count Sarah Connor's Chronicles, to follow from that movie. That's how much of an, you're right, Alonzo. That was such an apex of not just that franchise, but all of science fiction, arguably. And between Rise of the Machines, Sarah Connor Chronicles, like I said, Salvation, Genesis, Dark Fate, 5 times right there. It's like they couldn't follow from that movie.
No, yeah, not at all. And I mean, they literally had Cameron come out as a producer for the last one.
Sure.
But I'm almost positive he didn't really do much for it, because clearly the movie was just...
They brought in the guy who directed
Deadpool. Yeah.
For Dark Fate.
Yeah. What happened?
On paper, you had everything you needed. Up to and including Arnold and Linda Hamilton.
I want to see an exploration of the future war, but like I know we got it with Terminator Salvation, but that's a little too early. I want deeper. I want like the purple lasers and like the blue purple skies. I want a little bit more of what we got in the beginning of Terminator Genesis, but maybe without that cast and maybe with a better direction. I want to see more of that war. I'm kind of ashamed we never got more of that war to begin with. I want to see what they had to go through to get the original Arnold to send him back to Terminator 2. I want to see what that mission was like. What was that mission like? Who came up with that idea? That's a suicide mission.
Fascinated by that. You're right. That's a valid point. We never saw like what went into getting the original Arnold into,
and with like skin, like perfectly like out of the box iPhone, like Terminator T-800 infiltration unit, like brand spanking new. Like what?
There's several missed opportunities there that just we never had the chance to really do. I don't know. I think Galen Hurd is the sole owner of the rights to that franchise now. I think, I'm not sure. I don't even know how long she's planning on like sitting on that franchise. I think she's probably neck deep in EP duties for Walking Dead's final season right now anyway. So I don't think she's like worrying about that right now. Another YouTube comment. That's what happens when you milk a franchise for money. The sequels are never as good as the originals. Facts.
Yep.
Facts.
Yep.
I could not have said that any better. So there you go.
Oh, let's see. They said Terminator reminds me of the Jaws franchise. That's a really good one because Jaws is so great. I'll be honest. I was also exposed to Jaws as a kid. So when I watched Jaws 2, I was like, not that bad of a follow-up. And then Jaws 3, like I remember some of it was like good, but I remember some of it was so bad. Like even as a 7-year-old, I was like, okay, there was a scene where like the shark like breaks the glass. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's been a long time since I last saw like pieces of the first Jaws. I never saw the sequels. I just remember
the
something
sequels
about,
are.
here's what I remember from Jaws. We're gonna need a bigger boat. That's what I remember from Jaws.
That's all I need to remember. That's all I need to remember.
That's basically that. But yeah, I'll have to add that to my Netflix queue at some point. There's another comment here from YouTube. I think I was in late middle school when the first Matrix came out. I believe everyone was mesmerized by it as they didn't know what it was at the time. Yeah, nobody knew what it was at the time. Nobody knew. Between that movie and Fight Club, which also came out in '99, nobody had seen movies like that before.
Wow.
Really?
Tell me more about that.
I mean, well, mainly I'm talking about from a visual effects standpoint. The end sequence of Fight Club was like, wow.
It was insane.
But the Matrix pretty much throughout. That was pretty much throughout that whole freaking movie. We got a whole term introduced into the public vernacular. Bullet time did not exist before 1999.
That's pretty cool.
To do that. But
yeah.
Anyway, but so circling back to Matrix Resurrections, I want to go ahead and bring up this point that you made, actually, Alonzo, a moment ago, talking about Terminator. You were talking about how we missed key opportunities to shed light on more context of the war, the future war that we got a version of with Salvation. Yes, that's true. But being able to really see the context of how the human resistance was able to succeed with whatever missions that they had in order to have a version of Arnold to send back to T2. We never got that context. And then we could sort of like copy paste for ourselves a version of that would have been applicable for all the other franchise sequels that we pretty much all understand are terrible anyway. But well, varying degrees of terrible. I mean, I could tell they tried with Genesis to do a greatest hits compilation package of what worked for the first two films.
They
and
did.
Just smash them together.
They tried.
I understand that's what they were doing, and they had a plan. Actually, I don't know if you know this. They had a plan for sequels for Genesis. They wanted to do a trilogy.
Oh, I did not know that.
That's what they were planning to do there. But but that didn't work, and then we got Dark Fate. We all know what happened there. So, but circling back to Matrix, the reason I bring all that context up is I don't know if you saw the Animatrix.
I did not see the Animatrix, but I know the fundamentals of it. I know what it basically led up to, and it's pretty good context, especially if you only go off of the movies and you never really expected like what that beginning section was like in the lore. But
yeah,
have you seen it? Do you recommend it?
The one short in particular, the second Renaissance part of the Animatrix was like that's the context for this franchise, similar to what you're describing from Terminator, but that was in animated form. It's supposed to be considered canon for the movies, but it's like it's not in live action. It's not quite the same thing.
Yeah,
it's easier to take What If in that context because we know that's just it's adjacent timeline.
Yeah, it's kind of like in your face. Yeah,
right. But like this is we're supposed to accept this as actual canon, Right. So what I'm getting at, what my last question is before we see this trailer, like, would you, as a fan, would you appreciate seeing that war, seeing the context that led up to the war for Matrix played out in live action, or like would that really add anything worth watching, just given everything that we know about this franchise, and everything that has come out about it just from official sources, from the movies and everything, all the officially licensed stuff? Like, would that be worth it as an audience member?
You know what? I think if you were to implement that story detail into the narrative, this is definitely the movie where you would have to do it. Whether or not they will, I sure hope they explore it. It's always very intrigued me as a fan of just the Matrix and the Matrix lore in general. So I'm curious to see them do it. And especially because we already got a glimpse of it through comic form. We got an artistic, stylistic version of what it looks like visually. But I'd be more keen to see what like a big Hollywood budget production of that world would look like. And I would love to see how and if they could implement it into the narrative of the fourth movie. I know very little of it. I don't know what Neo's role is. I don't know what Morpheus's role is. I'm not quite sure what the overall plot in general is. So really excited to see
sure
what they're going to go.
Mr. Anderson now, but
Ooh. Okay.
Anyway, no, I've said too much. That was a little like Easter egg basically for like, I know you haven't seen the trailer yet. I'm just
Oh, I'm
basically
so
pointing out
excited.
I just wanted to say that to sort of like harken back to those memories of the first movie just for a hot moment. But anyway, all I'm gonna tell you in here is yes, Keanu's back, is all I'm gonna say to that. So without any further ado, this is the first trailer for Matrix Resurrections, and we'll get first reactions immediately after. So here we go.
Thomas, you seem particularly triggered right now. Can you tell me what happened?
I've had dreams that weren't just dreams.
Am I crazy? We don't use that word in here.
Hi.
Have we met?
No.
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall.
Time to fly.
If you want the truth, Neo, you're going to have to fly me.
The only thing that matters to you is still here. I know it's why you're still fighting and why you will never give up. You don't know me. No?
After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
Wow. Resurrection. Jeez,
So-
man. Oh, it's just Lana Wachowski directing this time.
Yeah, this is a solo act as opposed to both siblings were directing.
Wow. That was amazing. That was just a really well-made trailer. That was a really good use of White Rabbit, the song.
Yeah, and that was an awful lot of blue pills that he's been popping.
That was what? That was one heck of a story direction. And Neil Patrick Harris, is he the Oracle? Is he the new Oracle, or what's going on there?
I don't know. It seems as though we have a new Morpheus. That was Yahya Abdul Mateen II, previously known as Black Manta in Aquaman.
Yes,
And,
yes.
Also, Dr. Manhattan in
Dr.
the HBO
Manhattan
version
in the
of
new Watchmen.
Yeah.
Fantastic show.
Yes. Not really sure in which direction they're going with this. Like last time we saw this character, first of all, last time we saw him, he was blind. If memory serves.
Yeah,
So,
he was.
You know what? Let me tell a brief story here. I remember I was like, I think I was like maybe 16 when the sequels came out. And there were a lot of rumors that were circulating about what Revolutions was going to play out as the third film. what was going to happen there. And I remember reading this news piece that among the story ideas that were getting kicked around, there were several different things that were circulating, but there's one thing that always stuck with me that it stuck with me in my mind as I want to see that story. But it frustrated me all these years, 18 years later, that we never saw it in the original trilogy. This idea was the idea of a matrix within a matrix.
Okay.
Now, that stuck with me 18 years. Okay. Fast forward to yesterday morning to this trailer and seeing what is basically what looks like this trailer makes it look like Patrick Duffy stepping out of the shower. It makes it look like those first 3 films were a glorified dream. They didn't really happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but this is the Matrix that we're talking about. Dreams aren't necessarily dreams. Is this a matrix within a matrix? Did they dust off that idea from 2003 and put this film together as payoff for that? Sort of the Wachowskis' unfinished business.
That would be a really good idea. And I could really see them implementing that, just because when I see the trailer, it feels like soft reboot. It feels like, like soft sequel reboot. So, being able to just go through the direction of the original narrative, but with like the idea of a matrix in a matrix, sounds like the right direction. It sounds like a natural and organic reaction too on paper. So I'm really excited to see what Lana's going to do with this, because I trust the Wachowskis, honestly, when it comes to some of their ideas in the Matrix. The first one's just fantastic, and I love some of the ideas in 2 and 3. So I could see them going back and saying, all right, this is how we're going to tie up the story. We're going to take elements from what worked, and we're just going to expand on those ideas.
Yeah, it's but then again, we have to sort of remember how long it's been. This is half of the original creative team, and it's a lot of time has passed. We don't have Lawrence Fishburne here. We do have Hugo Weaving is not back for this, as far as reportedly he is not back for this. I think Mary Alice passed away, the second Oracle from Revolutions. She's passed away by now, but we do have one returning person, one other returning person we didn't see in this trailer, and that's Lambert Wilson, the Merovingian.
Ah, that's good. I did not know that.
So he is coming back, but the only other thing to really discuss about this really boils down to future directions. Depending on how this plays out, like let's say Resurrections is an amazing film. Actually, first of all, before we even get to that, holy crap, Warner Brothers' marketing people have been sitting on this gem for a long time. They're dropping the first trailer for this with 3 months to go. Okay.
December's going to be a really fun time for films.
Basically. But back to the main point I was going to make here. Let's say that this movie is really great. Okay. Should this be it? Could there be a Matrix 5? If this movie is amazing, would you want to see a Matrix 5, or would you want this to be it?
I would kind of want it to be it, and primarily because I'd want their entire creative team to just kind of focus down and just kind of condense one really good story without having to just pave the way towards another, expand another sequel. So I'd really like to see the culmination of just a lot of really good ideas weaving into one really good A to B narrative. So I kind of hope it's just kind of that, but I really hope it's a strong end. I want a Logan style end to Neo and the team. I want to see some type of, like closing of the book. So
but Logan wasn't really a happy ending. Logan was a form of closure. It wasn't really happy closure. It was just he can rest now. He can finally rest. And that's very different from the kind of earned happy ending that I think on some level we all kind of want for these characters, you know, which we thought we had. For all intents and purposes, Revolutions was the happy ending that humanity had been fighting for in that franchise. And that was, here we are 18 years later, basically being told that that ending was false. Resurrections?
Yeah.
What the crap does that mean? I mean, it got us talking about it, so clearly this trailer did its job. But
literally,
here's more YouTube comments. So that really was Doogie Howser at the beginning. Yes, that was Neil Patrick Harris in the beginning. And then another thing, well, with new actors and characters, it opens the story up for new ideas. Yes, but the $20,000 question is, are these new ideas worth exploring? Should there be a Matrix 5? And yeah, I guess, all right, if you really look at the context of the question being asked there, or the comment being posed there, yeah, depending on how the new story ideas and the new characters play out, it could be worth exploring. I'm not sure I want this to continue. See, I'm of the mind that if this actually winds up being an amazing movie, they should leave it at 4. I really think they should leave it at 4. And I say that because
I agree with you.
I say that because I wanted them to leave it at 3. There didn't need to be a 4. Technically, The Matrix Online could have been 4. Remember that game?
Yeah. I do remember that game.
Should have been 4. Technically speaking, it was. But, you know, okay, we have a new movie now. And which is fantastic. It's great that people are, you know, we're continuing the story. There's a wide fan base for this still. You know, and arguably Keanu is one of the most beloved actors in Hollywood right now. I get it. But it, you know, I just don't want to see, I don't want this to be the moment where this franchise jumps the shark completely.
I feel you.
I don't want that, because I don't want this to ruin my memories of like the significance of what your 7-year-old self went through, that mind-blowing experience of like seeing that first movie. Like, I don't want that to get watered down by what this film did to the overall franchise.
Yeah.
It sounds like you agree.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm just really excited to see how they're really just gonna approach this story in general. Like, what were all those blue pills for? Like, what's going on with Neo in general? Like, how did he end up in this situation? So, and also, I mean, what's going on with Morpheus? I kind of want to know what's going on there.
Yeah, he seems younger here. There's probably a larger explanation here. We'll have to revisit that as we get closer and closer to, I think it was the 22nd. I think it was December 22nd is when it said.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Yeah. And apparently HBO Max is getting this. So that's also extremely, extremely exciting.
Now, are you watching it on HBO Max, or are you going to the theater for this?
I'm doing Max. I'm doing Max for this. We're way over time, but this has been a fascinating night-long conversation, like basically. But I could go for more time about like the in-home streaming option versus going to theater. You know, I mean, I purchased premium access for Black Widow. So, and just mainly because I needed timely, you know, access to the content, basically. So there was a business reason for that.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
But just as a fan, there's a part of me that there's a part of me that wants the experience of going to the theater for something like this. And then there's the lazy part of me that doesn't want to leave home for something like this. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
There's that Ali Frazier fight in my head, that
clash,
rumble in the jungle. Yeah. So staff has another couple of comments here. I agree that only 3 films were necessary talking about Matrix. I do hate sequels that come out over a decade later, as long as it's not like Highlander. Its sequel nearly destroyed the original. Oh my God, Highlander!
Yeah.
Almost completely forgot about that. Oh my God, those are facts right there.
Yeah,
those are
that is a fact.
Man, did you ever see the TV show for Highlander?
Never got to see the TV show now, but tell me about it. What do you think about it?
Ooh, God, if only we had more time. Okay, long story short, the TV show was humble opinion, better than the movies, but did not matter remotely as much as the movies because the series and the sequels wound up completely undoing and delegitimizing the ending of the original films, and it was a mess to the point where you had multiple protagonists all from the same clan that the audience is expected to sort of treat as like of equal importance. You had Connor McLeod, you had the Christopher Lambert version from the movies, you had the Adrian Paul version, Duncan McLeod, and then there's also a Quentin McLeod. I don't know if you know, there was a Highlander animated series.
No, that's awesome.
There's 3 different McLeods. Who's supposed to win the prize? Who's supposed to like be the one? There can be only one at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are there 3 of these guys that we're supposed to be rooting for concurrently, and how are they supposed to fight each other for like, I mean, we saw, okay, Highlander Endgame, all right, Connor versus Duncan, we saw that, but it's like that franchise was such a mess, and it had such promise in the beginning from at a conceptual level, at a premise level. If there was any property from the 80s that is overdue for a reboot, I would say that. There's a lot more that they could do with Highlander, just with modern technology, modern filmmaking technology. There's a lot that they could do with that, above and beyond make some power transformers explode whenever somebody goes through the quickening. It's, you know what I mean? There's so much
that sounds awesome.
Anyway, yeah, so I agree with Steph there. Anyway, that basically brings us to the end of tonight's live commentary reaction for a lot of different movie trailers. We've gone through movie and TV trailers. We've seen a lot of content. We've had a lot of conversation about all of this content tonight. And man, Alonzo, thanks for showing up and making this worthwhile. I really appreciate you taking the time and helping make sense of all of this.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you bringing me here.
Yeah. You want to, in closing, you want to go ahead and do one last quick shout out to your peeps at Dava Marketing and what y'all do? If y'all have a social media page that people need to, you want to give a shout out?
Yeah, so you could follow us or you could look us up at Dava Marketing on Instagram and davamarketing.com. And we do unlimited editing. We do editing for all kinds of creators, small, large, big. We work with Jake Paul. We work with Humble Trader. We work with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And we're just eager to work with anyone who's just willing to take the gap and start getting into a professional post-production mindset and just start cranking out some content, because that's what we're all here to do. Your success is really our success. So if you're even remotely thinking about being a YouTuber and you want to take the big leap and you want to start coming out with content on the regular, go check out Dava Marketing. I love them. They're amazing. And, who doesn't love being amongst the community of creators?
Spoken like a true passionate creator.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I know you haven't really had much chance to really do like very much personal creating, and this, I guess we can call this appearance on this show tonight kind of like your first step in that.
Literally.
But you can hear the fire, you can hear the passion,
I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. That's
awesome.
It's awesome. It really is. So that's all we got tonight. Thanks so much, Alonzo, once again for joining us, and thank you at home for joining us tonight. This has been the Weekend Showcase live trailer reaction stream for Friday, September 10, 2021. Thank you on those of you watching on Instagram and YouTube for tuning in with us. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, guys.